Begin by taking some estimates with your pencil. Get one to show you where her hair starts. Make sure it's right on the access line that goes across her eyes. Take one on the right as well. It should be exactly where her ear and hair touch. You know this line is the top of her head. Next, take a measurement to show you where her jawline starts. Make sure it's exactly on the access line that crosses the middle of her lips. That way, you'll know where to make your mark on your drawing. And do the same on the other side. We're going to start by drawing the outline of her head, just like we did with the hand drawings. That's why we're only taking measurements for the outermost aspects of her head. And as you can see, I'm specifically starting with the measurements that land on the access lines. Don't measure or draw any of that loose hair coming down from under her ears. That's going to go in last. Just outline the solid shapes. And remember, your lines can be rigid for this part. Just get the angles of each broad area in, just like you saw me do in the practice tracing paper sketch. If you're having trouble guessing where the line of her neck lands, you can just take a measurement giving you the distance from the edge of your paper on the access line of her chin. Use the measurements you took like connect the dots. For example, hold your pencil up between the mark you made for the chin and the mark you made for the jaw to help you estimate the angle. I'm positive that's wrong. Again, I'm going to make some mistakes during this stage, and I'm going to walk you through my thought process on how I recognize them and correct them. So watch this portion of the course before repeating what I draw so that you aren't making my mistakes with me. It only lasts 60 seconds, and I'll let you know when it's safe to start following along again. I'm just guessing this distance to get an idea where to start her face. Notice how I'm drawing right now. Sketchy, sloppy lines. That's because I don't know where this line should go. I'm feeling it out and guessing, and that's a bad sign. And as you can see, none of the lines I'm making are lining up. This tells me I don't have enough surrounding information to get this right yet. So I'm going to work on other areas and come back to the jawline once I have more landmarks established. I'm going to look for a feature that I can either estimate more easily or take a measurement for instead, like the line for the right side of her neck. Based on that, I can better estimate how the curve of her jawline should look. And if I look for this angle, I can find where her cheekbone, ear, and hair all intersect. It's some guesswork, but as I said, this is a sketch. You're meant to make some mistakes at this stage. I'm leaving mine in the edit of the course so that you can see how I handle them. Now that I have this side in, I can see it's not lining up with the jawline I drew on the left, so I'm going to have to adjust it. However, it's clearly giving me a hard time, so before I make another attempt, I'm going to put more information into the drawing to base it on. I'll put in the top of her head because that will give me a juxtaposing shape to balance it off of. Here's what I mean by that. Notice how this curve is a reflection of this curve, and look how they line up. That's a lot of useful information. The best advice I can give you for the preliminary stage of any drawing is to constantly be looking for aspects to help you. If you find yourself having trouble with a particular feature, put in everything else around it first. I've erased her jawline and I'm going to attempt to draw it in again using all the new information I've just established. Once I have that line in, all that's left is the curve of her jaw, and I know where it connects to the line of her neck, so that should be easy. And if I did everything right, I should be able to finish drawing the jawlines by connecting those curves with almost straight lines, like connect the dots. Try to isolate this line in your mind. Follow the shape down with your eye. Don't let the ear, hair, or other shapes distort your perception of it. By the way, in case you didn't see the caption, at this point you can begin drawing and following along with me again. The lesson on mistakes is over, although I should mention this line is going to need to come in a bit more to about here, starting at the part of her hair. I'm going to put in the ears next in the hopes that they offer some linear information for me to use once I start putting in the interior shapes. We know the top of the ear lands on the axis line for the eyes. Next, estimate the distance from the bottom of the earlobe to the axis line of the lips. By starting there, you know your ear will be the right size. Just the outline, none of that inner ear information or hair. That could potentially be a huge waste of time. Remember, we're still at the preliminary sketch phase of the drawing. Okay, let's get the other earlobe in. Notice, because her head is tilted slightly, the earlobe on the right is lower than the earlobe on the left. We know that because the axis line we drew down the middle of her face is slightly askew. Again, begin by estimating how far up from the axis line the earlobe starts. Okay, that looks close enough. Now that you have a preliminary outline drawn, the next phase is to step back and look for areas that need to be adjusted. As I mentioned earlier in my drawing, the right side of her hair could come in a bit more. Closer, but it needs to angle downward a little more. I think the left side of her hair could use an adjustment as well, or at least I could put in a more confident line. The first interior line I'm going to draw is the part in her hair. It's an important aspect because it lands right on the axis line, so you may need to count on it in the future to help you center other features. Use your pencil to measure down from the top of her head to help you get her hairline right, and give yourself a mark.